Welcome into the Warchant.com Top 40, the original Top 40. It's that time of year again, my friends. I'm Jeff Cameron alongside Ira Schoffel and Gene Williams. They're, of course, both with Warchant.com, and it's my pleasure to be with them as we go through and do what we've done now for years. We take a look at Florida State's Top 40 most important players. That's a tough thing to grade out. Some guys are really talented, may not be of great use this year for the on the field purposes this season. So some guys miss the cut, even though they are immensely talented. Gene, we'll start with those guys. In fact, we'll go through 40 through 31. But here are the guys that just missed the cut. Amari Gaynor, obviously immensely talented. We've all got a good look at him already, and just don't know how important he'll be for this season, but we know long-term he's going to be very important. Some other guys, Deontay Sheffield, Kyle Myers, and Mike Arnold. Is there a player on this list that just missed out for the composite? Some of these guys, by the way, did make my list, Ira's list, Corey's list, but didn't make it composite. Anybody stand out to you?
Well, that's probably Kyle Myers. He made my list. I had him 32 overall, and just because I think the versatility and the experience. I mean, I think you can line up at star, corner, safety if you need him. Got a lot of experience. So if you bring him maybe even in dime packages, he's one of the starters back there. So a guy that's probably not going to start, but a guy that I think is going to be a solid contributor this year. That's why I think he should have made that top 40. But like you said, all the other guys, Sheffield looked really good in the spring, moving to wide receivers. Mike Arnold looked really good. Some of those Oklahoma-type drills they did. I really like his physicality there. And like you said, Gaynor is going to be that linebacker position. They desperately need people, and I think he's a talented physical kid.
Ira, anybody stand out here? You had some guys on this list, but a couple of guys you didn't have on.
And I'm one of the guilty parties that didn't have Kyle Myers on my list, and it wasn't without a lot of thought. I mean, I did think about him a lot because he was very productive last year, had a lot of tackles on special teams and in nickel and dime packages. The problem is there are so many defensive backs that they've got to choose from in this group that between guys who were freshmen last year like Cyrus Fagan and Hamza Nasruddin that are safety types. Then you got an A.J. Westbrook back as a fourth or fifth year senior. You've got other guys coming in, Asante Samuel, who probably could be like a nickel back or slot corner. So there's just so many different guys. You basically had to choose which one. We can't put, of the 40 players, we can have 10 defensive backs. So we're trying to figure it out. So I went with a guy like A.J. Westbrook a little bit higher. So I can understand where Gene's coming from, that he feels like Kyle should have been.
Well, yeah, and sometimes you are kind of taking a look at a guy and just guessing that maybe this freshman's going to overtake them and get more time just based on what you've heard, what you've seen, the talent level. Let's actually look at the list. Here we start at number 40 with Carlos Becker. George Campbell ended up tying with Adonis Thomas, which would have been 39, so they're at 38. Asante Samuel, Warren Thompson, Amir Rasul, Logan Tyler, Ricky Aguayo, A.J. Westbrook, and Nasir Upshur. Gene, I'll give you a chance to talk about those gentlemen. Anybody stand out there that you want to note?
Well, I mean, you coined the phrase, I think, the unicorn with Matthew Thomas for years, and I guess he kind of finally, this last year, at least did pretty well until that Florida game. But, sorry, I had to get that in there. But, George Campbell, here's a guy who's a five-star recruit. I mean, he's got the size, the speed, and he was going to be the next big wide receiver for Florida State, and whether it's injuries or whatever else, he's just never seen the field. I think at the end of the year, if we did the top 40, he's either going to be like in the top 15 or completely off the list. I mean, he's either going to get passed by, we're never going to hear from him again, or he's going to finally be healthy and emerge. So he jumps out to me a little bit. Then we got a couple freshmen on there too that I think, you mentioned those guys. I mean, there's always going to be a couple freshmen. In this system, maybe freshmen can even play a little bit their first year.
And I actually think, Ira, that's the hard part. Gene just touched on it. When you've got the regime that was prior, you understood that there were guys that just were never going to see the field no matter how talented they were, especially if they were designated as freshmen. We don't know with this new coaching staff how quickly they'll get guys on the field if they show the acumen for the position. And there are immensely talented guys here, and Asante Samuel, for example, is one of them. Some guys you want to talk about maybe?
Yeah, well, I think Warren Thompson's a perfect example. He probably doesn't make the list under the former coaching staff. Right. He's a freshman wide receiver. Traditionally, those guys have not come in other than Rashad Green and a couple of guys, not Kelvin Benjamin, but Travis Rudolph.
Yeah.
A couple of guys have come in and contributed majorly as freshmen. The fact that this system is supposed to be simple, much more simplified to get those guys on the field. Warren Thompson is a guy that has been recruited by Willie Taggart and that staff for years. He was committed to Willie Taggart at Oregon, so he's very adept at the offense. He knows what they're doing, so we expect him to be able to come in and contribute. A guy like George Campbell, to me, I'd compare him to kind of Darvin Taylor. And I kind of got burned on Darvin Taylor, so that's why I laid off of George Campbell. Because Darvin Taylor is a really talented kid, defensive lineman, showed some sparks last spring, but had been injury plagued. I had him really high on the list last year. Went out on a limb. He didn't play, ended up being medically disqualified. I think George Campbell, we're hearing good things about him and he's getting back to full health. but I couldn't go down that road again because he's been here for 3 or 4 years and hasn't got on the field much.
Well, and I think I speak for the three of us when I say we're all rooting for that kid. I mean, he's had so many injuries, and there's no question the talent's there. I mean, when you see his size and you know his speed, and you know, Jimbo used to classify him as tough. And people might question that because he's been hurt so much. But Jimbo used to say he's a tough kid. I'd love to see that play out and have him get out there and make a contribution because, you know, it's got to kill him inside. There's nothing worse for an athlete than to be talented and not be able to showcase that and be with your teammates because of injury. There's nothing you can do but continually rehab, and it's so frustrating. After a while, people move on, and I think we did. That's, you know, one of the reasons that George Campbell's not very high on the list, even though he is talented.
But if he's one of these guys, you know, we look at these lists, he's down there, but he's one of those guys at the end of the year, and let's say he's in the top 10, how good is that for Florida State?
Oh, wow, yeah.
I mean, he's one of those guys that can be a difference maker if he does live up to his potential.
Needless to say, both kickers, punter and kicker, were on this list in this location. We always struggle in any given year. I would have made an argument that a kicker, place kicker, would have been more important in Jimbo's offense than this one, given that this is going to be possession. You know,
well, he doesn't go for it on 4th down too, so a lot of field goal kicks.
A lot of field goals were necessary.
Well, you would have gone with Roberto Aguayo in the 30s, which was a point of contention in some of our.
That's right. I would have. Yeah, that's right.
You're not a big kicker guy, but no, I think that's about a good spot. The challenge with this list in general, and I think we'll address it in the future episodes. I know Corey Clark's going to be in part of them too. But the challenge with this year particularly is there's a change in schemes on both sides of the ball. Exactly. So it's really hard to identify how guys are going to fit. Like you talked about Amari Gaynor. It's just difficult to know exactly how they're going to fit when you've got a new coaching staff, everybody's getting a fresh start, and how many DBs are going to be on the field, how many linebackers are going to be on the field, how many receivers or running backs are going to be on the field. A lot of this is a little bit of guesswork, hopefully educated guesswork, but guesswork's still the same.
Final thing I'll say on this bottom half of the list here, how talented is Florida State and how deep is Florida State at running back when Amir Rasul, knowing what he can do and his speed and his talent, has to really reside way down low on this list because there are just so many really talented running backs on this roster. The next time we join you for the top 40, we'll take a look at 30 through 21. That's next time on the Warchant.com Top 40.